Okay. All right. So if you're watching this right now, my guest today is Kyle Popovich. We've been friends since junior year of high school.
9 years.
Should we tell them how we bonded in the first place?
Well, we can tell them.
The story?
Yeah.
LSU.
We won't drop names. Do you want to tell or do you want me to?
Oh, you can tell, but don't say names.
All right. So a friend that we have, now a mutual friend, the in between guy. I don't know what the right wordage is.
Yeah, Nick, we both were friends, but we didn't know each other.
Yeah, we were friends with him, but we had never hung out. Never liked him in high school. To start, always felt like he was too cool for school. So one night I go over to Nick's house, literally just chilling there, eating my Little Caesars. And Nick goes, "Hey, by the way, I invited Sam Block." And I'm like, I really don't want to be here anymore, but I was already trapped there. I'm like, all right, well, I'm here. I can't make it awkward. Sam comes downstairs. I don't think we said a word to each other. It might have been like a quick
I think I said hi.
Hi or what's up. So for 45 minutes, we're sitting on the same couch, but we're not talking at all. I don't think we were really getting to know each other. I think we were just trying to stay involved in the conversations that were happening over at his place. And then finally, we were being immature high schoolers, talking about certain topics in high school and certain people. And your boy and I basically agreed on one thing when everybody else agreed on the other. And that was within that moment where we both looked at each other and were like, "You're cool."
Yeah.
And then literally from that night, we there was no awkward stage of let's get to know each other, let's become better friends. It was spontaneous, boom, This is it.
That's my guy. And then if people want to follow you, you don't really post on Instagram, but you want to tell them your Instagram?
Yeah, I don't post on much on Instagram or MySpace anymore, but
you only post Twitter's just give me your Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, so my Twitter is at KylePop1616. And then I believe my Instagram is going to be Kyle_Pop16.
Yeah, you don't post much on there.
Don't post much on there. You won't find me really anywhere except I don't know, on my couch watching movies. That's literally all I do.
So the first thing I want to ask you is, we both share this common passion of, TV, movies, and just film in general. Mm-hmm. With that being said, what alternate reality would you like to be a part of if it was real?
Almost like a movie universe?
Yeah, let's say dinosaurs are actually real. Pokemon, superheroes.
Man.
And you get to either be one of them, or it's just you be part of a universe.
Oh, that's
right now, look there's a T-Rex out there, or a Charizard, you know what I mean?
No, Charizard would be dope. I guess, the thing that I always grew up with was comic books. And I feel like that's where that's where storytelling really took a next step for me. Because, when you're a kid, you start with the basic stuff. And I finally got a comic book in my hand, along with comic book movies. One of the first ones I watched as a kid was Batman, 1989. Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And it's... that was kind of a game changer. This is the first film I've watched, which is still campy, but it's dark, it's layered, it's gritty, and it was the first of its kind for the superhero genre. And that did something for me, because it was finally out of the norm. It wasn't the basic, typical love story, good guy saves the day, and it's all happily ever after. There's consequences, and there's things throughout the story that helps you feel the suffer rather than just witness it. So I think from an early stage, I'd want to be in a superhero world, and not so much would it be DC, Marvel, would it be any of the
you don't really care.
I don't care. I just think living in a world where superhuman elements exist and where you could potentially be one, I think that would be just by far.
Would you like to be a superhero and live in their universe, or just be like Kyle right now?
I think it'd be hard to just be Kyle in their universe. Although it'd be a really good transition, because how often is it the superhero comes to our universe and they have to adhere to our lifestyle,
that's true.
Like Zack Snyder's Superman. So I think it'd be interesting to be just the human being in just an entire world of superheroes where you're the one guy where it's oh, you're normal.
Who would you want to be friends with the most? Probably Superman, right? Or Batman?
Man, if I had to be friends with anybody, it would I know Peter Parker would be one of them. I don't really care for... Not so much that I don't care for the interpretations. I don't care which interpretation I'm with. I think just being with a Peter Parker type character would be great fun. I just feel like there's similar qualities and characteristics between me and Peter Parker. I think the one I'd be most terrified of his, if you can see this guy right here.
Wolverine, yeah.
I'd be so intimidated. It'd be hard. It'd be hard to like roam around and not want to joke around and do certain things.
Yeah, but if you have him in your camp, he's got your back.
Oh, he's got your
so
back.
So
100%.
it's like it's kind of a an iffy situation. But would you like the comic book version of him or like Hugh Jackman?
I think I absolutely grew attached to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
It's really weird because the comic book, he's a little older, he's much shorter, an even bigger temper, which is saying a lot when you consider what Hugh Jackman brought to the screen.
Yeah.
But as I talk about one of the first superhero films I watched, like on VHS tapes, if some of these people still know what those are, like the big ones we had were Batman '89, Batman Returns, the first 2 X-Men, and then the first 2 Spider-Man. Movies with Tobey Maguire.
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s, and the X-Men really kicked off like the superhero genre. Like people forget that
the first movie was not like it was good.
It was incredible, and like that was a turn of the century too, because going into 2000, you had Superman '78 with Christopher Reeve, and that franchise had fallen apart in the '80s. You had the Michael Keaton Batmans, but he left, and once the 3rd and 4th one came out, that franchise kind of tumbled into the weeds too. So the only thing that was really going for comic book movies and success was Blade, which kicked off in 1998 and was one of the co-reasons as to why X-Men kind of became a thing, why that got a chance on the big screen. But I think what's even crazier is that we went from these solo films and immediately we jumped into a team.
Yeah.
The X-Men, we jumped into a all co-team member story while still having certain characters at the forefront. And I think that's what always fascinated me with X-Men. I think that's what always fascinated me with Hugh Jackman, is that he was able to survive the original trilogy and was liked so well that they tried doing spin-offs with him. And then even as they rebooted, they thought, we just enjoy you too much, so we're going to continue your arc here. And we can pass that because of your abilities and being able to age a certain way. And it's like, oh, this can pass. And I think being able to have him in a universe for 17 years over the span of 8 to 10 movies, like that's special. And then for somebody who was 4 when the first movie came out, it was easy for me to grow up with that.
Yeah. Definitely. But what about now though? So like you like superheroes back then, is it still now you like live in their reality? Because I think it changes for me.
Yeah, it changes. Like I don't know, superhero, like if we're just gonna talk about superhero or comic book universes now, they're so fleshed out, and that should be a good thing. But it's not, and I like more of the simple ones. So if I could exist, if we're still talking like existing in a superhero world, I feel like I'd want to live in one that is not too overcrowded. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Not so many. Yeah.
Not so many, but also, I mean, this is just an easy thing to say, but like also not too politicized. Like,
yeah.
The heroes do their thing, and they're allowed to just carry on.
I think there's a lot of politics in superhero movies, but yeah, I think it changes for me. Like younger, I would say Pokemon, but like 10 years old to like now, I would say like dinosaurs would be cool. But also, I'm gonna die within a couple weeks because Velociraptors, like, there's no way you know to get away from those guys. And plus, like, if you're on a cruise ship and the Mosasaurus is just floating by and just
you're done for it.
Yeah, so it's like I'll probably say Pokemon. Like, I'll love to be an Ash Ketchum and have like all these Pokemon that I have, but
that's confident. You think you'd be on Ash's level?
Oh, it'd be better. Dude, when I used to play Pokemon, I would throw it better than him. I'd like more of a curveball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what I do. Oh, get out your list for the movies and TV shows. I want to talk to you about the favorite.
Yeah.
Do you have a list?
Yeah, I have a list.
Okay. So yeah, we're gonna do like a favorite movies and TV shows and talk about them. So.
And we're just gonna talk about just kind of like favorites, right? We're not like it's just overall favorites.
Just to like, or if like someone's watching this and they have never heard of it, maybe recommend it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't like TV shows and movies, skip this part or exit out of the podcast, I guess. Because I got some. My TV shows is like way different than everybody's, I feel like.
Yeah, my TV shows definitely vary from comedies to thrillers to dramas, along with some action. But
so yeah, just give it like say a movie and then like give a quick synopsis. Like, oh, this is why I liked it.
Quick synopsis. So we're just gonna hit top 5, right?
Yeah.
All right, I can do that. Let me go ahead and pull it up here.
I know you got a list, you nerd.
Yeah, I know. I already have a list. So I feel like this is going to be very difficult because I have a lot of personal favorites, but they vary through genres. I guess. So am I starting at 5 or am I starting at 1?
You don't need to rank them per se, but just be like, I like.
Kind of go through them.
Yeah.
Man, all right. So one I'll go through is Interstellar.
I think that's your favorite, right?
I think that's my own personal favorite. Yeah. Directed by Christopher Nolan, came out back in November of 2014. It's so good. It's a science fiction adventure. It's quick synopsis. It's about Earth dying and NASA, which still exists. In a future, they send out a team to try to find an alternate planet to which humanity can be transported to, whether that's their actual goal or not. Cooper, a character played by Matthew McConaughey, ends up being one of those guys after stumbling upon, if you will, NASA's base, but it turns out to be for many more and layered reasons as to why he actually ended up there in the first place. But it's a beautiful film. I think for the composer, it's Hans Zimmer's best work. I think that was my first semester in college too. So I think that is the movie that really helped me turn a tide into just really digging into movies. Yeah. Not just watching them, but wanting to analyze them, wanting to watch them again and see if I could pick up new things.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think Interstellar was the first film that made me start asking questions of the why, the how. I need to watch this again so I can understand the third act, so I can understand like how this, point at the 2 hour, 14-minute mark falls back to the 56-minute mark. Like small things like I love when films can take you back and you go, okay, that's tremendous foreshadowing and that's why we're seeing it now.
And McConaughey's performance is really good. And the one time where he cried and broke down, that was the first take they used. I mean, you probably know that, but people listening, it's like he walked into set one day, handed Christopher Nolan a paper that says CU, which stands for close up. And they're going to do like a wide shot and a tracking shot. He's like, no, just do a close up. They did in one take, and he said that he did that because he just felt the emotions and he was so part of the character. And they used that in the take, and it was just it's a cool interview that he said that in. But okay, so second one, what'd you say?
My second one, I'm just another one to talk about is I think you already know what's coming. Batman v Superman.
Oh yeah, Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate Edition. I mean, this is just the nerd coming out of me, but Batman v Superman, released in March of 2016, directed by Zack Snyder. That was truly the first, and this goes with Christopher Nolan's films existing in the DC universe. I think that was the first film where I really kind of took a deep breath after watching the Ultimate Edition and saying, holy crap, I need to watch this again immediately. Like, I need to analyze it because the dialogue, Chris Terrio, one of the writers, an Academy Award winner, so much of his dialogue was just so beautiful. And I think it's the first script that I wanted to find online and read through it and really kind of dig into the marks and see where, as a director, Zack Snyder could translate the script to screen. And Zack's also somebody who shoots everything he draws. He's his own storyboard artist. Yeah. So when you have to tackle your own storyboards, keep those intact with the script, and then you have it translate on screen as beautifully as he did. That was absolutely not only even the first comic book film, but the first film where I said, "Wow, like this is beautiful." And especially at the time it came out, and still to this day, it gets a lot of flack. I'll never understand it. I think it's also the first film that helped me stray away from the crowd. Like, oh, most people are saying this is a good movie. I agree. Or if it's bad, I agree. That was definitely the first movie where it's like it's me against the world, because this movie is everything I could have asked for in a DC film, a Batman Superman film, but most importantly, a Bruce Wayne Clark Kent film. So Batman v Superman is absolutely towards the top of my list of all time.
The Ultimate Edition that I watched with you was way different from what I watched on DVD. So yeah, go watch it if you haven't seen it. No, number 3.
Number 3.
You got to memorize? You don't even look
I
like
kind of. Number 3, I'm going to stick in the DC universe, and I'll go with The Dark Knight. Okay. That was
legendary, honestly.
Legendary. It's a transcendent film with incredible performances. I know a lot of the nerds out there will, try to go towards Darth Vader, try to go towards Jack Nicholson's Joker as like the best villains. But Heath Ledger, I think that was the first film. In a comic book movie or not. And I really, when you watch The Dark Knight, I think that's the one movie.
We're not going to start.
Like, that's the thing, though. Like, when you watch that movie, you don't think of it as a comic book film. Not only because Nolan made it a grounded film, but because it's more of like a crime mob drama. before anything else. And Joker
Yeah.
is just more of a unique
A lot of realism in
loner
that
crime
movie.
boss. Yeah, so much realism, and that's the thing that Nolan really wanted to do from Batman Begins to Dark Knight was eliminate as many fictional elements as we could to make it as real, as non-fictional, and as just sensical as possible, practical too. So yeah, Dark Knight, that was a movie that came out in middle school for me, and that was probably the first time that I was kind of like, wow, I really enjoy movies. Like, that really flipped a curve. I grew up watching movies my entire life, but that was a movie where I'm like, I'm in love. And yeah, incredible when you consider the time. Like, that came out in 2008, and it was still in that time where, massive universes didn't exist. Trilogies with a certain character never fully were accomplished. Sam Raimi's trilogy with X-Men, the third one kind of got tampered with. X-Men, the third one, they switched directors, and that one kind of fell flat. Blade Trinity, same thing happened with the third film. So, like, with comic book movies, you'd see The Dark Knight and you go, okay, this is incredible. But it was also around a time where there were other experimental comic book films coming out too, because trilogies weren't working. So you get the good ones in Constantine and V for Vendetta, but then you get the Fantastic Fours kind of mixed in there. So to have The Dark Knight come out when it did, I think that was one of the first films for comic book storytelling, elevated it into a normalized genre. And I think that's exactly around the time when the Marvel Cinematic Universe tried kicking off too. So that was a tough battle for the MCU, but they still, Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, when those two came out, combined, they didn't make the same money as The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
But they were also trying to tackle something different. And they both were refreshing films at the time too, but The Dark Knight it took it to another level in storytelling, and it really bended the genre past certain boundaries that had been created from decades prior.
Yeah. Let's do two more, then I'll give you my 5.
Two more? Yeah. So the next one, I'm going to go with another summer classic, Mad Max Fury Road. That
2015, right?
2015.
Yeah.
One of the craziest and just best action films, I guess you can say. Like, you're watching a lot of action films and they die down at a certain point in the film because you gotta push through the story, But when the story is a little bit more basic, where you're just going from point A to B back to A, that's where you get to have fun with it. Yeah. George Miller, who directed the original 3 Mad Maxes back in the late 70s through 80s, to take 30 years off, switch actors, which Mel Gibson gave his blessing towards Tom Hardy, and to create a film as eccentric and also testing limits with stunts, with practical stunts. Like, you watch that movie, 90% of it is practical stunts. And then the rest of it, it might be CGI, or it might be just trying to overlay certain stunts over CGI to make it a little bit more plausible for how the scenes are being executed. But that movie, was a movie that introduced me to an action genre that I wanted to see. I wanted to see relentless action. That's what led me to watching the Raid films and its subsequent sequels. Like, I wanted to dive into action films and finally understand what makes them good and what makes the action just so electrifying. But on top of that, it also introduced me to another favorite composer, Junkie XL, also goes by Tom Holkenborg. His score in that film is incredible. Probably one of the first times outside of Hans Zimmer where I told myself, like, I'm getting this disc. Like, I'm getting this soundtrack, and it's no longer going to just say composed by Hans Zimmer. It's a different guy, and I think I started to venture out from there. But
Witness me!
Yeah, it's iconic because it tackles something in a timeline where you would think, yep, this is just post-apocalyptic, won't happen. But it still kind of follows the same sense of A, survival, but B, politics. Like, this is what the hierarchy says is going to happen, so we do that. We execute our lives towards that. Just like things are socialized and normalized in our everyday life, where it's like, we do this because we're told we should be doing this. So that film, even in a post-apocalyptic setting, still hits home with the certain ideals that exist, because it's like, this is why they would be acting a certain way. And then also, Tom Hardy, he's a beast. He's a beast, and he's one of the few actors who can give a performance without saying too much.
Yeah.
I know people make fun of, like, the Nolan films where he's wearing something over his mouth. But then in Mad Max, he's wearing it for half the film. But even then, like, he's not saying much. It's not taking away from his performance because, he can perform with his eyes. He can perform with his grunts and his just subtle words that he'll so often speak, or so little speak. Mad Max, Fury Road, definitely in the top 5. As soon as I saw that, I knew that was going to be a favorite of mine.
Yeah. You got the poster of it, right?
I do have the poster. Yeah. It's one of my favorite posters.
All right, next movie?
Next movie, this was a toss-up. I had to think about this for a little bit, but I'm finally going to step out of the genres, these action or these
Comic book.
kind of big, well, not even comic book, but blockbuster films, and I'm going to go to Her.
Good
with
one,
Joaquin
yeah.
Phoenix. Yeah, it's very weird not putting a Denis Villeneuve film in my top 5, and I mean, top 5s are ever changing because it's your favorite, so whatever you're in the mood for. But Her came out at the very beginning of, I believe, 2014, directed by Spike Jonze, stars Joaquin Phoenix and Amy Adams. First love story I ever actually fell for on the big screen. Oddly enough, on surface, it's not a love story that you would expect. It's not between human and human. It's between human and AI. You know, it's almost like talking to an AirPod nowadays. And I think the most unique part about this story is Spike Jonze developed this idea back in, I think it was 1999 or 2000, when he was in New York, and he went somewhere where they were displaying AI that could have a conversation back and forth with you. But because it was so early in the technological stages, you could only say hi, and it could only say, like, how was your day?
Yeah.
But he started to be intrigued by the idea, and this was around the time that he had just gotten out of a long-term relationship where he was like, well, what if somebody was so not only wronged with the human elements, but maybe questioned himself, and if he understands them, that what if he were to try to tackle something else? And that's where Joaquin Phoenix meets his AI, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. And it kind of tackles, it's weird. A lot of people say, is that the one where he talks to his computer? But like, no, it's where somebody learns about themselves. It's where somebody discovers love again, and they're taught that you can love again after feeling like you could.
I like that movie because I'd never really seen a movie like it before. It didn't feel like, you know, I could guess it or whatever. It's just like, this is weird, but in a way, it's like it's its own thing, and I really liked it. And you know, Joaquin Phoenix kind of plays this like quirky hippie really well, and he's like really vulnerable, and it's such a well shot film. So yeah, good pick on that.
Well, that's the thing that I love about it. Is Spike Jonze and cinematographer, I believe it's pronounced Hoyt van Hoytema. I probably butchered that. But that's
definitely not how you say it.
That's not how you say it. But they shot it in, if I'm correct, Tokyo. But in post-production, they added a lot of Los Angeles skyline in there, and they scattered it throughout because they wanted it to feel
similar, or
not so much similar.
Familiar?
They wanted it to be familiar, but also have you kind of question, where are they? They wanted you to know that you're in a future, but when in the future?
Yeah.
So they created a world truly through the landscape that was so mesmerizing because it's a mix of two worlds.
Yeah.
Two completely different locations. But then at the same time, throughout this love story, you get, I'll talk about it again, when you talk about the soundtrack, Arcade Fire, who is just, you know, they're soft indie group, and here they are composing a soundtrack, composing a film. It's the only film they've ever composed, and it turned out to just take this film to another level.
Yeah.
Like, it really captured not only the love, but also the loneliness. And that's what a lot of people deal with, is loneliness. And this film definitely, through the music, through the performances, which is so individualized because you're always following Joaquin Phoenix, it really helps you understand love, relationships, and battling your own loneliness and depression. And I think it's so much more than just somebody talking to their computer. So I think that's why it rounds out my top 5. Is it's a film that on the surface is so, you think is so basic, but there's so much more of it.
It's very layered, yeah.
Yep.
And let's do one TV show that you could recommend to someone that is not like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. Like give me one that's like you could recommend to someone that they might not be well known or popular.
I'll go with one. I think my friend Jeremy would be really proud of this. It's Luther with Idris Elba.
Okay.
It's a British show. It's on BBC, and it's a phenomenal show. The great thing about British television is they don't do the whole basic cable thing where we have to do 20 episodes, 24 episodes, and you just run out of ideas after the first season. It's 6 episodes. The first season, I think 4. Season 2 and 3.
Wow.
Season 4 and 5 are like 2 episodes each, and it's because with British television writing, it's what's the story, we shoot it. It's not American, where it's like, well, we need to flesh out 48 minutes. And we have to do this 20 times over the span of 5 to 14 seasons some shows will run. That's where I would very much recommend Luther to anybody. It's a great investigative cop show. It follows a cop who likes to work alone, and through the episodes and through the seasons, you understand more and more about his own loneliness and his own demons that he's fighting. And even if it means doing bad things sometimes. He's a character that you root for through and through. And it's, in terms of storytelling, in terms of just interesting plots, like each episode, even though it ties into an overarching plot, there are individual episodes where you just kind of fall in love with because you're learning something new about the character. And it can scare you. It can kind of make you laugh. But no matter what, it's going to get you more and more interested in the show.
Yeah.
So definitely I would recommend Luther.
I saw your dad called. Can you please call him back? He's like, there's a tennis fee?
Inside joke only.
So, yeah, I'll do my top 5 real quick. It's not in any order, but I would say the first Hangover is probably my favorite movie. Just because I can watch it so many times and it's so silly, it's so goofy, and it's something that like I've never been to Vegas and I kind of want to go just to see what it's like. So that's definitely a good comedy. I don't think it's the best comedy of all time, but it's definitely like my favorite one. I would say Logan with Hugh Jackman, just because it's like one of the first comic book movies I saw where I was like, it's not corny. There's no silly jokes. It's like it's rated R. It's gory, it breaks your heart. It's incredibly real and vulnerable, and I think Hugh Jackman did a phenomenal job. So that's kind of what got me like obsessed with Wolverine. And then I'll do. Let me see. I'll probably do like most of those posters over there, but I'll say Coach Carter. It's a movie that like it's like an underdog story, and Sam Jackson plays Ken Carter, based on a true story. I think it came out in 2005, and it was a time where I was like obsessed with basketball. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, I want to be like these guys. So it's definitely a movie that I'll always come back to and watch. I'll say Prisoners. That's like my favorite thriller because I don't know, it's like right down my alley.
Yeah.
Like I know we talked about it before, but it's like I can't get enough of that movie.
Well, we haven't talked about that movie before. That's an incredible film that I think the shout out absolutely goes to Roger Deakins, who is the cinematographer.
Dude.
I was talking about Her, where the basic elements of the film, it sounds so just. It can't be overly unique, but when you get a cinematographer who originally, when he tackled this project and was approached on it, he almost turned it down because he basically said, how is just a kidnapping thriller going to be something that is so intricate and something so layered that I can make it interesting? And then he had to sit down with Denis Villeneuve, who is a Canadian-French director, and this was his now second film that he was doing for the U.S. And Denis, after one meeting, convinced Roger to do it. And the final product is just phenomenal. Hauntingly eerie. It's phenomenal. It's a film filled with tremendous performances from Hugh Jackman to Jake Gyllenhaal. But most importantly, like it's a film that captures your insecurities, your vulnerabilities, just the certain things that you feel like you couldn't let your guard off of, you will. And that's the main point with Hugh Jackman's character. He's built up through dialogue to be this guy who's always prepared, who always is ready for certain things, events, whatever. And something happens to his own family. Now he's being tested.
It's if you have a daughter, it's really hard to watch that movie, but it's one of the few movies where I watched it and I forgot that it was a movie. I was so invested and so into it, and it has one of my favorite scenes of all time when him and Jake were in the car. That was like, holy crap.
It has, and then on top of that, when you want to talk about open-ended endings, not to do any spoilers, but it's absolutely a film where you
go.
Every time I watch it, I find myself inching closer and closer to the TV, and then it cuts, and then it's credits, and you're just like, oh my god, I have to interpret this now. Like this is like, and I think that's the best part about films is when you have to interpret it for yourself, because it's not just it's not shown to you. You're not told, and you can't just go, okay, I know the answer. It's crap. How do I see this? What in my mind makes me say it's this over that?
Right.
Yeah, Prisoners, absolutely. Again, one of the more quote unquote basic films that turned into something so sensational.
And I would say Jurassic Park is probably up there for me, just because it's such a nostalgic film, and to have them pull it off in the early '90s, as far as like the VFX and the CGI and everything about that, it's like they kind of nailed it in terms of the time period, And it's like it just became this worldwide, and they're still doing the movies to this day, Jurassic World, Dominion and Lost World and all that. So
yep, we'll be getting the new one soon.
Yeah, that's a really good movie that I really enjoy. And then last one, I don't know, dude. I'll probably say 13 Hours with John Krasinski. That's a movie where not only is it based on true events, but I was like, first 20 minutes is kind of introducing the characters, and then once crap. I don't want to swear in this podcast. But once crap pops off. Gee, dang it. Once stuff pops off, it's like, and it does not stop.
Do you remember seeing
13 hours straight.
Do you remember seeing that in Arizona? Yeah, we saw that.
Wait, we saw it together?
Yeah, we saw it together. I came out for the winter. We saw like 4 movies that
We did. No, we saw that one, Japanese Forest. What's it called? The movie, remember that?
Oh, man.
Was that the same year?
Yeah, that was the year because we saw Revenant and I think we
we saw Revenant together?
I think we saw Ride Along 2 also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But,
did we see Revenant together?
Yeah, we saw it together.
That's cool. Okay.
But,
yeah. No, that movie was like...
So first off, 13 Hours. I don't slander Michael Bay. I think Michael Bay, who directed 13 Hours, has an incredible eye for visuals. Like he understands them. I love the way he shoots his films. Are his stories and plot anything overly incredible? No. But for a film like this, where you're just built around the action, you're built about getting through the night, I think this was a script and film that was meant for Michael Bay, and his practical effects too. 13 Hours. That's one of the better, if you wanted to call it, soldier/war films.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. And again, I do not like to slander Michael Bay. I feel like it's a fun thing. I feel like he's the Coldplay of music, or the Nickelback of music, where people like to just jab at him. But Michael Bay has honestly such a great film catalog, and 13 Hours is absolutely one of his top tier films.
And then I would say my TV show that I could recommend is, do you know what I'm going to say? We watched it in Arizona.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
You're going to say it.
Harper's Island.
Yeah.
I knew it.
So Harper's Island was a show about, they go to an island, obviously, for a wedding. All these, family and friends, and there's a bunch of murderers. They're trying to find out who did it, and it's a lot of layers of, figuring it out. And it's such like right up my alley in terms of like thrillers / scary shows. And it only lasted like 12 or one season, 12 episodes, and it was like a 2009, but I remember watching it and I was like, this is amazing. And like it's on CBS or ABC or something like that, but I don't know, it's a fun show.
I didn't expect much coming out of it. I thought it was going to be one of those simple one season shows where it's unimpressive, but each episode it takes you.
Yeah.
And not only takes you through each character and helps develop them, at least the ones who continue through most of the episodes. But it's a really interesting murder mystery.
Yeah, it's like whodunit,
Yep, I am a sucker for whodunit films.
So yeah, I mean that's what I would suggest. But I want to take a little break from movies because I don't know who's still watching this. But so we talked about having like regret in our adult life. Like hindsight is 20/20 because we. I told you before, like I regret moving to Arizona, but I didn't know that until, I went there and then came back. And you didn't want to go to college, but you did, and it worked out. It's all good. But
yeah,
how do you deal with regret, like big regret in your life?
I mean,
personally,
I don't know. It's difficult. Like some people will say things happen for a reason. The best thing you can do, and it's going to sound very basic, but just move forward. But one of my favorite lines, and I'm going to bring it back to movies because, of course, one of my favorite lines in a movie is the past is just a story we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a book, close it. That's the best thing you can do is just move forward. And if it's an opportunity, if there's regret that can still be made up for in the present, a chance that you couldn't take but you still can, kind of what's stopping you from doing that?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where if it's something unattainable or just the time has clearly passed, all you can do is move forward. But also, like, the past is something we have to hold on to at the same time.
Yeah.
Even though it's
Memories.
a story, it's a story. People will pick up a book and want to reread it. And I think it's good to remind ourselves of our failures. And it's good to remind ourselves of our regrets because it shows the chances we didn't take. So now that we can take them moving forward.
Yeah.
What about you?
Regret is weird because it's like, Oh, I wish I would have went back in high school and did more plays and music, or did one player musical, because like we like movies, and it'd be cool just to be on that stage and like just get out of your comfort zone, you know. And
could you picture us?
I could do
leading
it.
Oh, you could do it.
Oh, leading? I don't know about. I'll be the tree.
You'll be the tree in the background.
I'll be the guy who goes, "Here's your mail." No, but it'd be something like fun just to like do, because like, you know, we want to do short films someday. So it's like, why didn't we even like try that? But we're too scared to like think of like a nerd or something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, I did suffer from stage fright. In middle school, I did plays, and it was fun.
Oh, you did?
Oh crap! Yeah, I did plays.
Oh, but you were in choir though.
No. I did like.
I know, but choir as well.
I mean, I was still in choir in high school, but like even I mean, geez, I would do solo ensemble in high school, and when I was performing in a classroom with my two friends and then just the one or two judges, my leg would be shaking like crazy, and I'd be like, "Oh man, why am I nervous about this? I've spent the last 4 months practicing this. Like, there's no reason for me to be scared." And it's because in middle school, like I was somebody who, through elementary school, I loved doing plays and musicals. I loved being at the center of attention, because what kid isn't? And then I made a mistake. It was opening night for 7th grade, and I was the lead role in a play, one that will not be named. And
Shrek.
yeah, dude, I was the ogre. But no, like...
Wait, really?
No, I'm kidding. One of the first scenes, I dropped a phone. I was supposed to pull out a phone, and I dropped it, and like everybody just stared at me. And I think that was the first time when I realized...
Great character choice.
Yes. I realized everybody was staring at me, but not because I was doing something right, but because I was doing something wrong. Let me tell you, that was the first show of 4 throughout the weekend. That was just... I think that's what absolutely told me, like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Probably why I sucked in sports in high school, but... No, yeah, now I would love to go back, because now I feel like I'm much more of a carefree person again. Where it's like, oh, I'd love to try this, love to try that. But
regret is weird, because it's like you only regret something because you know the outcome now. But in that moment, you made a decision of like what you think is best. It's like, you know, when I use the Arizona, you know, trip for example, or move, whatever. It's like in that moment, I was like, this is the right choice. You know, we're gonna do it without knowing the outcome. Turns out it wasn't the right choice, but I only know that because of, you know, hindsight's 2020. So it's like, I don't really believe in regret, because you make choices based on your life, what you think is the best at the time. So there's no point of trying to change it. This isn't movies like we talk about, and it's like, so whatever happened, you literally just be like, that's what happened, and then you move on. There's no regret. There's no, I mean, you should remember good memories, but I don't know, it's something weird. Like, it kind of clicked for me a couple years ago. I was like, why are we regretting stuff? It's like kind of stupid. Mm-hmm. It's literally stupid, because you cannot change what happened in 2013. Regret
is almost just a way for your mind to taunt you, almost.
Yeah.
In like a
torture
you. Yeah, in a very just psychological sense. It's a way you could be carrying throughout your day. It could be something simple as opening a door, and then you'll remember an experience from high school, and it's like, oh man, like, that happened, and it just goes through your mind, and it's horrible. Like, it sucks that minds are like that, but we can't control it. You know, minds, it just comes down to a chemical imbalance, and it could be the smallest thing that makes you go like, oh man, you dwell on it too. And it's weird too, because, you know, some regrets I have, it's like, it kind of motivates me. Where it's like, I didn't do that, but like, I'm going to do it this time. And maybe that comes more with career goals rather than a certain circumstance.
Right.
But like, sometimes they can be motivating, and I think that's where regrets are necessary, because all of them should be motivation for you to go forward with something you didn't do, or to act on something, or it could be the other way. Like, don't do something that you did do.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is learning experiences. We're just fumbling through it, man. Like, that's all it is.
What do you think you miss about your younger years the most?
Man.
Like, if you had to pick one thing.
Staying up late all the time and not feeling the effects the next day. Like,
you used to go to bed the time you wake up now.
Yeah, I was through high school and through college, I was very much the person up till about 2 to 4 a.m. and then up at 8, and I would just kind of be okay. Yeah. Not even relying on energy drinks or coffee. And now it's like...
You'd be in classes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like sometimes, there was one time in high school I took a crap ton of NyQuil instead of Dayquil on accident, and that day was the worst. But no, yeah, that's one thing. If there's anything else that I miss, I think the thing I miss is organized sports through school. Yeah. It was such a great way to meet friends, test your own abilities, and then build on those abilities, build on those relationships. Like, I know playing tennis for us, like, that was... I didn't play tennis until my junior year of high school. Wish I would have played it years before that, like even before high school. That's a sport that I love. It's a sport that I now miss. But because you're in school, you can play it every day, because not only is springtime the time to play that, but your friends are at school every day, so you can just hit them up and be like, hey, after school we're going to play tennis. Let's go play tennis here. We're going to play at this time. And it was an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
And now as we become adults and everybody starts to move away, even if it's just, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour.
30 hours like I did.
Yeah, like whatever it may be, it just becomes more difficult because now there's more scheduling, there's more organizing, rather than just a random like, hey, we're staying after school to play tennis.
Yeah.
And you can be like, oh, okay, this is super convenient because we're teenagers, so we have the time to do this.
What time do you have to leave at? 6:30 or right now?
No, 6:30.
Oh, okay.
As you asked me.
Did I already ask you that?
No, I'm just saying, it cracks me up.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think I miss the camaraderie, and I guess that kind of goes along with sports. But as far as like, just in general, like, there's so much planning that goes along with like hanging out with friends now or whatever. It's like, I work 2 jobs. I go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, Nick has a kid now. So, but like in high school, it's like everybody's free on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're not hanging out with someone, you got family stuff going on. But it's like, now it's like, hey, what are you doing 3 weeks from now? I don't know. It's like,
yeah, that's the tough part.
That's, I think, the scheduling kind of mess, and paying rent and just money and all that. But I don't know. It's a weird transition.
Adulting, man. Yeah. Just not for everyone.
It's weird because like and you see how like crooked the world is. Like my rent went up this year, or next year I should say, but my work didn't give me a raise. So it's like, I just got to figure it out. It's like, it only went up $50, but it's like, gosh, man, it's like.
But also, like, that $50 isn't just only $50, because that $50 takes care of your Wi-Fi bill a month. And now it's like, well, I can't. I have to use a different $50 because there's always things that get in the way.
I didn't think about that in high school. Like, I remember my parents would, be stressing about money, and I was like, I mean, I get it, but I don't really get it.
Yeah.
And then you get older, you're like, oh, it's like. It's not, if you're rich, like you've got lucky.
So the first time I really got the smack in the face of financials and adult life, worked almost 2 years at Shopko in high school, and you're making less than $200.
I think
every other paycheck.
Yeah, we got like if I had $300 a paycheck, it was like in the summer, right?
Yeah. In the summer when you're working close to 40 hours. But that's the thing. But like as a high schooler, also, what are you doing with that money? You're not saving it. You're not, putting it to good use.
I was.
Oh, you were. Oh,
yeah. I mean, like some of it. Like I would put $150 away, put $150 like in my wallet or whatever, and then I would just try to live off that for weeks.
Nah, see, like for me, it was hard to save money because my senior year I got docked hours, and it's because not only sports but also someone didn't schedule me during the last summer of my time in Janesville because my boss was just mad at me for some reason.
Who was it?
Our boss, James.
Oh,
yeah.
He's killed someone in his past life.
But like, no, it was hard because like, you're paying for gas, you're paying for meals, you're trying to afford simple car problems. I think that's the first thing a lot of teenagers run into is car problems. And it's like, oh man, yeah, this is something that comes out of the wallet. But the bigger thing, with whatever money I could save, I remember going into college that same fall in 2014. And they hit you with the bill right away. They hit you with that semesterly bill within the first 2 weeks. And I remember I got the email and it's like your semester's due. And I went to lacrosse. I'm like, oh, okay, this should be okay. Yeah. And I saw it. And I remember I panicked. It was one of my first panic attacks. I'm like, what? I was never told that I would have to pay this like right now. This is literally my savings. And that was the first smack in the face. And like that's something you're not told about in high school. You're not taught that. I mean, maybe you have to rely on family and or friends to kind of give you the heads up. But high school doesn't teach you about life. It doesn't even teach you about college and like what to expect. Once I got that bill, I knew that I was gonna have to drop my life savings, which wasn't much, into that first bill and then find a way to make up for it the second semester. And then I knew that this was gonna be a routine.
Yeah.
So as a college kid, it immediately turned into, okay, summer jobs aren't gonna be fun summer jobs. They're gonna be working 40 to 60 hours a week, saving all of that money.
Ugh.
And that was like my welcome to adulthood. It was really dedicating myself to things maybe I wouldn't want to in order to get to where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot of hard work. Like, humble brag. Like I'm very proud that I was able to put my head down and just bust my butt and do everything I could and it was because of that lesson. It was because of the lesson of, hey, a high school job, and I still believe this. Like, any kid, if you want to go work whatever job, you should. Like, if I ever become a parent, I'm not going to tell my kid, hey, college is going to be expensive. You got to go work at freaking Farm and Fleet for $10.85 an hour rather than shop go at $7.40. Like, no, work whatever job you want in high school with friends. But I will give them the heads up that, hey, like at some point life's going to smack you and try to be prepared for it. So that was my welcome to adulthood, I feel like.
Yeah.
Or when I lost my tooth. That was like I took a tennis racket to the mouth. I have a fake tooth here. That was
Which one is it?
It's this guy right here.
Oh, 9?
I got a
It's your 9 tooth.
Yeah, my 9 tooth. Freaking nerd. Yeah, I got a permanent cap on there. And I think that was one of those where it's like, oh, the bill is what?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot for a permanent cap. At least to me at the time, because I was, I think, 16 on the spot. Worst timing too. Relay for Life was the next day. Had a chance.
Oh, was it really?
Like everybody at Relay for Life, just hang out, eat food, just run around all day. I'm sitting there, just like nobody go near me.
Yeah.
Like,
don't make me smile.
Don't make me smile, because that was the best part. They cemented the tooth on before the permanent cap. They tried having me roll around with just still my tooth, and it looked so stupid.
Really? Damn. That's hilarious. Yeah, I think 18 to well, I don't know about 30, but at least 18 to 25 is
a struggle.
It's weird. It's like I made a video about this a couple months ago, but it's like compare like me, you, and Nick right now. Like Nick, he's got a kid, he's married, he's gonna get a house, he's got a couple dogs. He's like grown up. You are like happy.
Proud of that man. Proud of him.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm super happy for him. I'm just comparing like how different people are. So it's like, and then can I say your situation or no?
No, you don't speak of my situation at all.
No, but like
speak of my situation.
No, you're with someone. Can I say you? I can edit it out.
No, yeah. Well, I am with a person. I don't have authentication paperwork signed by that certain individual. But
no, I'm saying you have a girlfriend that you live with, right?
That I live with. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you signed a prenup. I'm just joking. No, but and you're like a step down. You don't have any kids yet, but you're pretty damn serious.
With a cat.
You have a cat.
I've got a cat.
Gizmo, right?
Yeah.
That's the name. And then me, it's like, I'm single,
What'd you say? Like, I'm single.
No, I was saying like, I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird how.
Get a cat.
No, I don't want a damn cat. That's probably the closest thing I'll have to a cat is a little tiger. No, but it's just funny how like, we're all 25, but it's just way different. But when we're all like 16, it's like, you're doing this.
You're 25.
Huh?
You're 25.
Yeah, you're 24?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Maybe. But yeah, it's just weird. I wanted to ask you about how do you determine the greatest of all time when it comes to football? Because there's defense and offense. There's different positions. There's different, quarterback and running back and receiver get the most attention. But they're both on offense with fullbacks and, offensive linemen.
The best way to describe a greatest of all time, and this is if you're comparing a linebacker to a right tackle.
Yeah.
Did you, do your job the best out of anybody in your position for multiple years? Also, could your success and your ability translate to other eras of football? And finally, did your abilities help your football team be better?
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think that's where, that translation comes into for, GOAT. Like, being a Bears fan, the best quarterback we had was 1939 to 50 was Sid Luckman. His abilities would not transfer to today's league. The same thing. Whereas Jim Brown, who was an elusive runner, one of the best at his position, his play could translate to now, and he helped the Browns be a very successful team in his playing days. That's where he becomes more in discussion for GOAT. And of course, with the GOATs, you hear Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Walter Payton, Aaron Rodgers, mostly with quarterbacks because that's the position that has the biggest impact on the rest of the team. Look at the Packers the last 4 years and the Seahawks for probably the last 3. They've been close to an elite team, consistently successful, and you can absolutely point to the one guy in Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and go, "That's why." Like the Seahawks, and people forget, Seahawks went 12-4 and won their division last year in 2020. should not have happened. They had a bottom 3 defense. They traded multiple firsts for a safety who couldn't improve that defense. He was a part of a unit that got worse, and yet they went 12-4. And you can consider the schedule, whether it was easy or not. You can consider lucky breaks. At the end of the day, Russell Wilson put up mostly phenomenal numbers and a consistent run to start the year, but still was enough. And that's the fun thing about Wilson. That's what got him to the Super Bowl in 2014. He could come out in the championship game, throw multiple interceptions, and still be the reason as to why you win that game at the end of the day. And it amazes me that almost at the age of 30, Russell Wilson isn't in that discussion yet. Like when people talk about the GOATs of football, I already listed some of them. But for the most part, it's the quarterbacks. But when you think quarterbacks, it's the Peyton Manning, Brady, Montana, and then usually it's up for grabs with Rodgers, Favre, Marino, Elway. And it amazes me that Wilson's never up there. He's a consistent runner.
Racist.
What? Not me.
No, I'm
the
saying
NFL. Yeah, absolutely. I was like, what? But like he's a consistent runner. He's one of the best athletes at the position.
Really consistent.
Still at this time is still running so well. How many runners at quarterbacks do we see have to take a step back in their career? Like Vic didn't have to, Cunningham didn't have to, and Wilson hasn't had to.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we see runners who do have to lay off the throttle because they know that either their body can't take a beating or just they can't keep moving around with their legs, and they want to develop their arm a little bit more. And that's where Russell Wilson kind of goes into that GOAT topic, and he's one of the reasons as to why. Because again, his play could translate to other eras. He's very much a reason why his team is consistently making the playoffs, but he's also been one of the best. But I guess going back to my first point was he the best at his position? And unfortunately, maybe not.
Some weeks.
Maybe some games, some weeks. Like, yeah, you look at 2020 through week, 10, he was MVP discussion. And then he took a turn, which wasn't even for the worst. But yeah, his numbers went down.
Yeah.
And, through his career, there's always been the big seasons by Manning with Denver. And then it was Tom Brady's success in New England carrying over to Tampa. You always had guys like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers putting up big stats. And that's why the negative also, the con to him being on the GOAT list is he does have those things that go against him.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so difficult for GOAT discussion, because there's always going to be what about this? What about Tom Brady's defenses? What about, what about Dan Marino's bad defenses and bad breaks in playoffs and Super Bowls? Like, that's why he never won. Aaron Rodgers, what about his lack of team building around him? Like, that's the reason.
Kind of like LeBron, honestly, in early Cleveland years.
Yeah, early Cleveland. He was the reason.
With all that being said, that what you just described, who do you think is the greatest greatest football player of all time?
Oh man,
Rex Grossman. No.
Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Man, that's difficult. I think.
Be unbiased or biased?
Unbiased. I'll be unbiased, and I'm always going to. I think I'm going to stick with an answer that I've had for a very long time, and I still feel confident in it, and it's Peyton Manning.
Oh, really?
Peyton Manning, has one of the greatest minds in football. Mm-hmm. He was somebody who, and people forget this because we live in such a, what'd you do for us last?
Yeah.
Or recently, world, and people will look at his 2015 season and go, hey, you won the Super Bowl, but your arm, it wasn't the same. That 98 through about 2008 stint of his in Indianapolis, I mean, heck, you could probably even go through 2010 before his neck surgery in 11. He had an incredible arm, but most importantly, he had incredible ball placement, accuracy. He had an incredible mind for reading the defense, and it cracks me up. I think he was one of the first quarterbacks in Madden where if you were playing against him, like if the Colts were the CPU, he would always audible on you. And like the Madden creators purposely did this because that's who Manning was. He wasn't running an offense where, nowadays there's a lot of offenses where they go up with 2 plays in mind. And that's why so many times you hear the quarterback yell, kill, 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 because there's an A and a B. We're going to go up there with a run look, and if we actually if we don't like that run look, we yell, kill, kill, kill. They switch to the pass, same formation. With him, it was true audibles. He would get the tight end jumping to the other side. He would move players around, and he would also have the right offensive line cues to get his entire team set up for success from each play. And oftentimes that wasn't the play you were running coming out of the huddle. But on top of that, he was one of the best at his position. I mean, there was a stretch in football, probably from 2002 to 2006, where he was absolutely being discussed against Tom Brady for the best in the league. He was up there with Brett Favre. He won a Super Bowl in 06. He won it in 15. He brought 2 organizations to uncomparable levels of success. He is one of the reasons why Tony Dungy became the first non-white coach to win a Super Bowl. If Peyton Manning's not quarterbacking that team, I don't think the Colts win that Super Bowl against the Bears.
No. Good Super Bowl to watch too.
Yeah, incredible. It was really hard for me because Peyton Manning growing up is one of my favorite, probably if not my favorite player, and then the Bears are my team, and it's like, man, I have to watch the Bears play Peyton Manning, and like that was really difficult.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I had to say this before I forget. That's my dilemma with being a Bucks fan and LeBron fan. If they ever meet in the finals, like they were about to last year and probably this year, it's gonna be hard for me to decide. But
well, it was easy for me to decide as a kid. As I'm just all decked out in Bears gear, it's like, oh, Bears.
Yeah.
But no, Peyton Manning, I mean, on top of that, this guy sat out an entire year with neck surgery, at the ripe age of, 35.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts had a tanked season. They drafted his replacement and knew they were going to be drafting his replacement right before they cut him. And it's like this was an organization that was ready to move on.
Yeah.
And luckily for Manning, he was able to, unlike now with the whole dilemma with Aaron Rodgers, which was the same with Brett Favre well over a decade ago, Manning, if I'm correct, got granted his release. And then it was a signing war. It was, where do you want to go? And there were multiple teams. I think the 49ers were in discussion just because of Jim Harbaugh. But no, he went to Denver, who had an up-and-coming defense, had incredible weapons at receiver, and a pretty durable offensive line.
Yeah.
And it sounds very much the same as Tom Brady. Went to Tampa, who had a fringe top 10 defense, then was one of the best defenses. They had guys already in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. He brings over Rob Gronkowski with him, but they also had a stellar offensive line that got improved with that same draft with Tristan Wirfs. So Peyton Manning was able to go to a second organization after already being an elite quarterback, after already being one of the best of all time, not just in his time. He was able to do it again. In 2012, he goes to the playoffs. 2013, he sets records, offensive records at his position, with the passing yards, with the passing touchdowns. Goes to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it was botched by Denver, just got walloped by Seattle, but then he still found a way 2 years later to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's incredible. It's a guy who aged. We saw it with Drew Brees. We're kind of seeing it with Tom Brady, but not as much as the media likes to exaggerate. Quarterbacks, as they get older, their ball just isn't the same. They don't have the same power, the same release, the same velocity coming off the ball. He found a way to adjust almost on the spot to go, okay, I need to put the ball here then. I need to lead my receiver a little bit more. Some of these throws might be ducks, but they're going to get there. And I think that's why Peyton Manning, for me, is one of the greatest all time. He's a winner, successful on many levels, beyond just college, at Tennessee. Like I said, he went to Indianapolis. He went to Denver. But then on top of that, he was one of, if not the best at his position multiple times. And when you consider that era of 98 through 2015 when he played, I think the only quarterback through that stint that's going to be put up against him is Tom Brady.
Yeah. Then that's who I think is the greatest of all time. And it kills me to say that because I am such an Aaron Rodgers fan, but how do you not say it? I mean, he's got more Super Bowls than, correct me if he's got more Super Bowls than any quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And let me see. When he went to Tampa, he won the first year.
Yeah,
so
especially
it's like,
at their home stadium.
Yeah, so it's like, dude, how do you? I mean, Peyton Manning went to another team and did that, but I think it was his second year.
Yeah, it was the second year they made the Super Bowl. It wasn't until his fourth year with Denver that they won it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So here's Tom Brady coming to, and this is again why when we talk about GOATs, quarterbacks are always discussed because we saw this almost same Tampa Bay squad led by Jameis Winston in 2019 barely pull out 7 wins, 8 wins.
Yeah.
And insert Tom Brady, and not even Rob Gronkowski, but maybe him. But Tristan Wirfs was also just an electric player to slide in at right tackle. But you still had Todd Bowles coming back on defense. You still had Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich leading your offense. It was just that Tom Brady was there. And that's what he does for teams.
It's hard not to say he's a GOAT. I mean, when he was on the Patriots, I was like, whatever. And then when he went to Tampa, I was like, it's a Tom Brady way.
It's something that a lot of players have tried to do. Brett Favre tried to do it with New York and Minnesota. Joe Montana tried to do it from San Francisco to Kansas City. And eventually Peyton Manning did it absolutely in Denver. But it's rare for a guy to find that success.
That quickly.
At such an age. And I think that's what's impressive about Tom Brady. This is a guy who in his first 5 seasons won 3 Super Bowls in a span of 4 years. And then in 2007 set passing records that weren't broken until Peyton Manning in 2013.
Yeah.
Tore his ACL in 2008 and then comes back and still continues to play at a high level consistently. And then after the Super Bowl loss in 2011, he comes out and, in a span, they won in 14, they lost in 16, and then they're back at it right away. They won in 16 against the Falcons, lost in 17 against the Eagles, and then he comes back and wins in 18. It's hard. You can sit there and say, well, the steady defense is, it's the Bill Belichick effect. Maybe the offense is it's so much dink and dunk, and it's like, okay, he's doing it consistently though, and he'll still beat you up top because you think it's dink and dunk. But most importantly, it's just like Peyton Manning, it's because of his mind, the ability to read defenses and understand his checkdowns, and most importantly, just know not to give the other team a chance. So yeah, those dink and dunks, they kill a lot of time, they keep drives going, and they eat a lot of time. So it's impressive.
I don't know, man. It's hard not to argue against it. I mean, I think if Aaron won a couple more Super Bowls, I could probably put Aaron up there, but I'm sorry. It looks like he's not going to win another one because they just signed Blake Bortles, so I don't see why Aaron was going to go back.
Blake's more of a depth guy.
I know, but they already got Jordan Love, and it's like Aaron's already pissed off, so you did that, and it's
Aaron's pissed, but I think the big thing with Green Bay is you had 2 quarterbacks going into camp, and one of them is on the fringe with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So you need another camp arm. Blake Bortles knows the offense coordinator Nathaniel Hackett from Jacksonville. He played in a Los Angeles Rams system under Sean McVay, which is where LaFleur kind of comes from. So that makes sense. It was interesting when LaFleur made comments that he was almost trying to say more than he had to, talking about how Bortles came a quarter away from going to a Super Bowl, and he put up some impressive moments. And it's like, why are you selling your fan base on a quarterback if he's only going to be a backup? So that was the only thing where I kind of cocked my head and said, well, why is he exactly saying this? But for the most part, not too worried about the Bortles signing. But Rodgers, going back to it, I think he'll fall into that Dan Marino situation where it's like, well, if he had only won more. And that's what John Elway would have fallen into if he had not won his last 2 years in the league. Yeah. But that's also because the Broncos team just got better. It's because Terrell Davis went off for 2 years in a row, and they were able to beat the Packers. They were able to beat the Falcons, and Elway could have his swan song times 2. So maybe Rodgers gets that in Green Bay. Maybe he tries to find that elsewhere. But if he doesn't, he's going to kind of be in that Dan Marino circumstance, even though he won 1 Super Bowl, which is an incredible feat. But nowadays, it's almost like that's not good enough because you have a guy in Eli Manning who won 2, and whether you want to say that's because of him or not, people are always going to bring up that argument where it's, hey, this guy got more.
So you got to leave in a couple minutes, so I'm going to be quick about my last 2 questions.
Okay.
Would you rather be working in the Hollywood film industry as either as an actor, director, producer, an AP, whatever, or is football or baseball your favorite sport?
Football.
Football, okay, I was about to say. Or be like in the NFL or be an offensive coordinator. Which genre would you like to be?
I would love to be in Hollywood. I don't know, something about creative freedom, well, as long as you're not with Warner Brothers. Something about creative freedom and just being able to make something that's personal to you. And I think that's the fun thing about storytellers. It's rarely are they telling the stories for the audience, for the fans. They're doing it from their own heart, a story that they want to see unfold, and whether it satisfies or pleases the moviegoers, it's usually not a care. It's more so like if it's personal, it's going to be told very well. Whereas in football, everything's criticized, but most importantly, you're relying on other factors. You can be an offensive coordinator, but you're relying on a good enough quarterback to be distributing the ball, or just all 11 players to be executing your plays. If you're a quarterback, if your receivers aren't hitting the mark, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. It's easy on your body, too, as an actor, unless you're like Christian Bale.
Lose
100 pounds in 2 days.
Yep, and do it every other year.
Yeah, but
I would rather be in Hollywood, whether it was as a producer, filmmaker, actor, like just the idea to be you, but to also kind of venture into different realities. You know, that's the thing with actors and characters is they tackle something that's actually not them.
Yeah.
And I think that would be very fun to do. But most importantly, like as a storyteller, as a writer, and as a director, I think that's what absolutely fascinates me is what do I find beautiful in the world and how can I tell that story?
Yeah, when you pull it off, it's like so rewarding. You know, like not that I'll know, but I've done like some creative stuff and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, so I think I agree. I think 5-10 years ago, if you asked me, I would probably say NBA, but I don't know. I think me being a 6-foot white dude, it's probably not gonna happen. But I mean, either way. But like, I think I'll be a better actor than an athlete for sure. But yeah, I don't know. My last question, and then I'll get you out of here. Lauren wasn't able to answer this, but who's the hottest girl we worked at that shop go?
Why do you do this stuff? Like, why do you think Lauren won't answer this, but I will? You know,
I don't know.
Earlier I saw Shopko written. And
oh, you did?
I didn't know what it was about. I just saw Shopko, and I forgot what moment it was. But I was like, I started to smile, and I don't think it was a moment while you were talking about something.
Oh, my God.
And I'm sure people probably noticed me smiling at a random point. Now I know why you freaking asked that question. I don't know. I think the hottest person at Shopko is obviously Lauren Cox, but
Lauren, you think so?
yeah, absolutely.
Dude, Lauren, isn't it weird how he was like kind of like our height? He didn't have much facial hair. He's 6'5" now, and he's got a beard.
Oh, dude, he could dunk on us, man.
Yeah,
like no shot at all.
I saw him at Janesville. I was like, Lauren, what the hell?
Yeah, I'll still never forget. I was working lawn and garden my first summer at Shopko, and I walked in, and I knew I saw him working the register, but we both gave each other like the 15-second stare of like, are you who I think you are?
Yeah. Like,
are you? Because we hadn't seen each other for like 2 years since middle school, and then it was nice to just kind of like reconnect with him and be friends again, but then be goofballs at Shopko all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And now he's doing his thing, and I'm super proud of that man. That dude is incredible at what he does, and he's doing multiple things. Could not be more happy for a single person than I am for Lauren. He's killing it in his profession.
He's funny, dude.
And because of that, yeah, absolutely, he wins that.
So he's the hottest girl there.
No, hottest person.
Oh, hottest person. Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, so
you're not getting that out of me.
I know,
especially as you bring up earlier, like, so your relationship.
I know, right? That's all I have for you. Let me think of anything else. Do you have anything to say?
No.
I mean, you'll probably come on the podcast again, but this is like a first.
Yeah.
I think maybe next time we can go really into movies and TVs, but I kind of want to get like a...
Oh, if we want to do a teaser, we may have just
seen... We didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk about that.
Okay,
so perhaps...
5 minutes? Okay, what? Okay, so we saw Spiral.
Yep.
With Chris Rock. What did you think of it? My bad. I forgot to ask you, dude.
I was going to say, like, here's the teaser for the next episode, but to kind of finish out the show like this, it was... I was joking to you. I'm like, I have the perfect one-liner view. It was a movie that was solely written as an excuse for Chris Rock to be yelling almost every scene. He was finding something to yell about when I feel like he shouldn't have been yelling. And I enjoyed that from just like a Chris Rock performance standpoint because it kind of cracked me up. But I don't know. For me, it was almost another entry to the Saw world. It wasn't anything overly impressive. I think there were some transitions, and I think there were some moments where the way things were shot, I'm like, I'm intrigued by it, but it very much tackled the idea of torture porn. Mm-hmm. And for a franchise that was solely that and kind of got ran into the ground for that, I thought, even though the torture sequences made sense, like there was a viable reason as to why certain things were happening to these individuals. It was very much like if it's going to be grotesque, it has to be for a reason. Like I'm a fan of practical effects, and I think this is these kind of films are great excuses for visual artists to show off certain things happening that you actually could not pull off. So I think that's the fun part. But overall, absolutely, I thought it was another edition. I don't think it was anything special, but it was definitely entertaining.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. Whodunit films. I'm a sucker for those.
Yeah.
So just the idea of watching the movie, going like, all right, am I feeling this? Is it that?
I heard you say, "Oh, I knew it."
Yeah.
Did you know?
I knew.
You did?
We'll do a non-spoiler, but I knew. I thought it was a little sus.
Because I can't say it without spoiling, but
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a little sus that one character, something happened to them, but it wasn't overly. It wasn't shown to you the way other things had been shown. So I'm like, you know what? That's a big question mark. But no, it was a good time with the movies. I'll say that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, especially the tone of it, like the way they set up some shots and like the color grading they used. It was like really, really like they nailed it. You know, it's like, you know, if panic in a movie ensues, like kind of like in Prisoners when they first find out their daughter's missing, they go run out and it's like pouring rain. It kind of sets that tone. So I thought they did well with that in this movie. And Chris Rock, it's hard to see him in this, but I think he delivered a good performance. I don't think he.
Yeah, for a guy who like not only stars but he produces it.
Yeah.
He helped create it, you know, write it. I thought it did a good job of capturing some of the flashback storytelling that the first Saw did. And I know that a couple of obviously a lot of the other Saw films capture that, but I thought this film did it in a way that reminded me a lot of the original Saw. Mm-hmm. And I think that would at least make James Wan a little proud.
Dude, the original Saw, I remember watching them in my room growing up. My iPad, I was laying on the ground, and there's like, I was eating during most of them because I'm so fat. And I couldn't look at it. I was like, oh man, like I forgot which saw it is, but there's a jar full of acid with a key in there.
And that's two.
That's two? Okay. And then their rib cage is holding on by some like fish hooks or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a timer, so they got to reach their hand on the fish or the jar full of acid, and it's either they unlock the key and ruin their hand full of acid and, you know, pull all the fish hooks out, or they don't reach in and then they just died and pretty much bleed out and they don't make it. So yeah,
it's honestly, I will say this for Spiral, but overall the Saw franchise, it's incredible what one film did to launch this is now
6.
I think there were 6 sequels, then there was Jigsaw, and then there was Spiral. Impressive for a film that, if you watch the first one, it's really not torture porn. It's very much just why are these things happening to us? Learning that humans are not perfect beings, and some people see that as reason for consequences. And then the second one was like, hey, what if we just tortured some people? Even though I will say the Saw films, they do have decent enough stories to be kind of indulged in them, but sometimes the torture porn is too much for me.
Yeah, I know. There's actually all the torture scenes. I was like, oh.
Yeah, in this movie, I think there's like 4 key ones, 4 or 5, and I'm just like, there were a couple of times where I had to look away.
Yeah,
like,
they're rough.
Not for me.
Would you watch it again?
I would watch it. I think the only time I would probably end up watching it again is if I ever binge the Saw franchise.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like if there was another one, I'd probably be like, you know what, I kind of want to keep intact with this.
Yeah.
Because I binged the Saw franchise like 3 years ago, which really didn't play too much into this film, which was interesting, but also good that it still kept its own identity and didn't rely too much on past films. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an enjoyable one-time watch.
Yeah. Maybe
I'll get back to it another time, but...
Was it worth $14?
No. But honestly, not. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard. Let me say this. It was because it's just always refreshing to be back in a movie theater.
I know. It was. Dude, we went to a huge theater and there was like 6 people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was really. It's always refreshing to be back in a movie theater.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Oh, I forgot to put my ticket in the thing. But okay, so I'll get you out of here. You gotta go home. One more time. What's your Instagram, Twitter, and all that?
My Twitter is @KylePop16. You'll catch me talking sports, talking movies, and retweeting those dope memes. And then Instagram is @Kyle_Pop16, where I post absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you don't post.
But I should probably start changing that.
All right, yeah. All right, thanks for coming, dude.
Thanks, dude. Snail.
Bye, everybody. See you.